can hear us.
Welcome to another Friday here with us.
Hi,
Yeah.
Hello. So good to see you.
So we see Victoria Garcia from San Antonio. We see Didi Halleck from New York. It's great. Always great to connect with you, Didi. Herbert Sequenza, Star Shields. We see Tish Leon,
Hey, Tish.
Tara Kwan, and Richard Chang.
Richard Chang,
actually
hey.
wrote a really nice story today about artists in Orange County, how they're coping with COVID. And he featured us as well as like 6 other artists. So thank you.
Thank you, Richard Chang. Go to thevoiceofoc.com, I believe, or .org, voiceofoc.org, to read the story yourself by Mr. Richard Chang.
Yes, he's doing great work here in Orange County. And it's an important time because there's a lot of misinformation going out there. And, you know, with all the protests that have been happening this week,
After the pandemic.
Well, there's still a pandemic. So that's the thing is that we have to be careful because there's mixed messages as to whether it's safe to go out or not. We're doing a lot of our activism from our keyboard. We've been doing a lot of protests in the past, so we're going to be focusing on our health, and hopefully you guys can also make your voices heard with the conditions. But until
in the virtual barrio, we will be there documenting.
Yeah, until we get scientific evidence that this curve is flattening and it's not in Orange County,
then we'll think it's a trap.
Yeah,
it's a trap.
We're gonna relax. Yeah, just stay home and love your family and be with your pets. Your garden, your starter yeast needs attention every 12 hours.
Go into yourself and all those things, all those projects you were putting off. This is a great time to do them, and more than anything, just to deal with all those thoughts. You know, sometimes in America we tend to distract ourselves to death. You know, with like 250 plus channels, 24 hours programming. So this is the time to program your inner life, and I think it's a beautiful gift for all of us.
So, like we said. Welcome to Dreamocracy in America. This is our 10th conversation now. And we're really excited to be bringing these conversations to people around the country, featuring artists and activists that are doing what we call the front line of Dreamocracy building. And
Visionaries.
And Dreamocracy in America is?
It is us picking up where de Tocqueville left off.
Yes, Alexis de Tocqueville, 1831, Frenchman, comes to the U.S., studied the prison, stays a few months, writes a groundbreaking book, still relevant today, but did not talk to people of color, women, at that time slaves, the Native community, LGBT. So Latinos.
America was only half the size of today.
Mississippi.
It only went up to Missouri, I believe, from the East Coast to Missouri. Is that correct?
I think so. Whatever the border was, it's all fake.
So there are no borders, really, of body, mind, and spirit. So we're picking up that conversation about the dreams and the aspirations and the visions of folks here in the U.S.
and the strategies, because a lot of the people that we just mentioned being left out of that original conversation are the ones that are working hardest, fighting hardest, making the most gains to defend what we were all taught America is supposed to be about: freedom and
equality,
life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Don't kill me. Don't take my rights away. And as we've seen in the past week. Number one, things can backslide very, very quickly. But number two, there's also a very corrective mechanism. That's one thing that really marveled de Tocqueville about America, is that it had the ability to self-correct its problems. The main problem was admitting that they had a problem.
But once they did, he said America was really its jewel that it had that Europe did not have at the time. He said it was our goodness, that we really have in our hearts the desire to do better, the desire to make things, right. So if we can just self-correct, and hopefully we can get some wonderful ideas from today's guest. She has trailblazed in so many different communities on different continents.
I'm excited.
Yes, here in the U.S., south of the border in Mexico. She also opened a cultural center in Peru, and just has really impacted arts and culture and activism, social justice on so many levels. Made her mark on all those.
Yeah.
And the world is much better for having Makeda in it. So
So our guest today, if you don't know who she is Makeda Dread, the founder of the WorldBeat Center in Balboa Park in San Diego. Does a lot of work with African culture, immigrants, refugees. Has been a haven for Latino, Mexican, and Central American immigrants.
A promoter of rocksteady ska and reggae here
Yes.
in North America.
So yeah, and if you don't know San Diego, San Diego's an interesting town because even though it's right there on the border and it has a history of being Mexico and Spain before that, an indigenous history, there's a lot of institutional and systemic racism there, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I see Herbert waving his head yes. But Balboa Park, which is the central park of San Diego, is supposed to be this big tourist jewel, and it was founded 100 and some odd years ago.
Has over 30 museums.
And up until 1970, when the Centro Cultural de la Raza opened in I think it was 89 when the WorldBeat Center opened, there were no real organizations of color in the Balboa Park. Whatever was supposed to be representative of the city. The Museum of Man had remains. The Japanese Friendship Garden, not the most activist sounding or location, but the WorldBeat Center has really stood out since the inception as a beacon for community building, multiracial, multi-generational,
multicultural,
multidiscipline. So Makeda is really the driving force behind that, and she's done so much good work, which we'll cover some of her other projects there in San Diego. So let's bring her on, Makeda, if you're there. Let's see if we can have you on camera. So say hi to everybody. Makeda Dread.
Hey, Makeda, Mama Dread. It's so good to have you with us.
Thank you. In the middle of this double pandemic.
Yes.
It's surreal.
So when you talk about pandemic, that's, a system out of balance. Yes, there's the virus that we need to contend with, but the spread of the pandemic is due to all kinds of other factors, race, class, commerce, but you in the WorldBeat Center, you not only deal with culture, you have an ethno-botanical garden, a peace garden.
You have a TV broadcast station,
radio station,
a radio,
and you have a vegan restaurant. So the balance and harmony. Tell us about that. Your vision and how it was formed, because you're originally from Houston, and your family moved to San Diego when you were very, very young. But
you actually worked out in the fields with Mexicanos.
Yeah, and you had the first vegan restaurant in San Diego, The Prophet. How did you go from that young girl in Houston to opening a visionary restaurant in San Diego?
Working in the fields, and yeah.
I'm a San Diegoan. My mother came here when I was 3 months old. I don't know too much about Texas, but I went back. I can't stand Texas, actually. I had to go back because my auntie was sick. I need to go back. I like Austin. I think Austin is pretty cool. But in Dallas, I was in Dallas, and so that it's a little, it's cool. I don't know if I've ever been into Houston. I'm from, my parents are from, small town, Brownwood, Texas. My grandfather was born into slavery. My father got ran off his land because they found oil in the land. The Klan ran him off, and he ran to my grandfather's farm, my mother's father, and he worked with my mother's father, my grandfather, in a place called Brownwood, Texas. I was born in Paducah, Texas, but Brownwood, Texas. And the Klan, my mother worked as a maid for bankers, and she said something to one of the sheriffs, and she had to hide. And these people that were bankers, they said, take your kids and take your daughter, which I was 3 months old, out of here. And so they were having, things were happening at Naval Air, this war going on. And, I was born in 42, so a few years I'll be in my 80s. And, I like that.
Well, you're looking great. You're looking great.
Well, that's why you have to be a vegetarian. I had a big start, my 20s. I was a vegetarian.
describe your garden to us, because you know, if we're going to change our background with some of the images of your center. So here's the WorldBeat Center itself.
Great.
And here's some of the programming that you have in there. You work with the native community. And I had one of the garden. Let me see if I can find that one. But describe the garden to us, because
I just want to tell you about racism, because this is Breonna Taylor's birthday. Someone that they shot in her bedroom alongside of her boyfriend. You know, I just want to tell you what's going on right now. I mean, the WorldBeat Center, I had a struggle. It wasn't an easy thing. You know, racism, it's like, it's Makeda, you know, such a great person. She's done all these things. But, you know, racism is so horrible to Black people. You know, to everyone. Everyone suffers, but I'm gonna deal with Black people right now, because that's the issue that's going on right now. And so San Diego Finest City was brutal. They were brutal, you know, and I just kept going on. But to have all this, Black people were suffering from a mental condition. They didn't give us a 40 acres and a mule, but now it's something really deeper. I want to tell you, there's three kind of protesters. One that protests, you know, they want to be out there and protest and do good. And then there's the anarchists, and then there's the looters. Now, Martin Luther King said that people riot because they're not heard. You know, you think, well, how could they burn up their property? How could they do all those different things? That's because those looters feel that they never had anything. I know there's infiltrated with some of the alt-right, you know, some of these skinheads and stuff, you know, because a lot of things are going on there. But you got to understand, Black people are hurting. They are hurting right now. And I mean, I don't say that you should go out and burn down. I'm not into that. But you have to look deeply. And we want to be heard. You know, the park shouldn't have had to go through this with the park. All the good things. I've been on radio. I did a restaurant. I took their land that looked like it was needles in there for addicts, you know, and we cleaned it up, made a children's garden. You know, I was feeling helpless lately. You know, even before I felt I had enough, you know, helpless and hopeless. I shouldn't feel that way. I've accomplished a lot in my lifetime. So that's what I want to tell you that we're going through, you know, and we're very sad right now. All of us, people of color, because we had enough. Mm-hmm. We've had enough. So I want to say, you know, big up Dee. Thanks for all the good things that you've done, and you donated and you were there for us. And, you know, I'm thank you for, you know, for being on, you know, this, I mean, I love your webcast. I love what's going on right now. And thank you all. I mean, I'm sorry that I came in so rough, but it's, you know, to see a history that's never been taught, right? These kids are, with the internet, they're realizing they've been, hey, you've lied, you've hung us. They got the internet has showed them the truth. So I just want you to know, from a Black woman's perspective, what I feel, you know, and you've been knowing me a long time, you know, and all my accomplishments in the gardens and everything I've done, I couldn't did it without you. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much for my family of all colors. But we have to remember that none of us are free until all of us are free. Thank you.
Yeah, and also one thing, you know, that's very well stated. We have to have the honest conversations. And one thing that we need to realize about the national, or now international protesting that's going on is, yes, everybody is upset about George Floyd, but the reason you have that level of anger is because people are expressing their own experience, and they're connecting to what happened to George Floyd because it's happening in their own communities. Minneapolis, like you said, Texas, Florida, DC, Los Angeles, all these cities that are blowing up have a history of police brutality. And it's been really miraculous how it's going on, what, 5-6 days now, but how articulate the protesters are. And you're right. I mean, it's very clear that the people causing violence are instigators, and there's so much documented evidence and arrests that it's white racist people.
Piles of bricks being escorted by police patrol cars. It's horrible.
AR-15. So
burning their own cars.
Yeah. So that's an important thing, because they're protesting in Paris, because they're experiencing the same thing. It's not just one guy, one incident. And that's important to be aware of, because the solution is about the system, changing the system. And we're not going to talk too much about Trump, because everybody knows how ridiculous his response has been. But he's one of these people, like the white supremacists were waiting for an excuse to start a civil war. And Trump is doing the same thing. He could have done, like any other human being on the planet, a call for unity, a call for peace. But instead, he called for like martial law and weaponizing the army and the National Guard, which is the stupidest response for, rioting that's happening in key cities that, that need to address this issue. You don't respond to police brutality by calling in more police brutality. That's just ridiculous,
Unless you're trying to start a race war.
To complot.
And we are not going to give them one.
Oh, no.
So, and that's something also that in using de Tocqueville as a touchstone really impressed me, is that way back almost 200 years ago, he talked about the African American community and the Native community. And he said that the way these communities were being treated, that the natives were just going to be exterminated. It was just going to be genocide for them. And if there were any left in 100 years, like, that would be a miracle. And of African Americans, he said it was so dehumanizing what was being done to Africans in America, that these human beings were being sold before they were born. And it was incredibly wounding, and families were torn apart constantly. It was a instrument of control to destroy those family ties. And of course, Haiti had its revolution about 30 years prior to him coming to America. His grandfather was almost executed, with the
French Revolution.
Yeah, in the French Revolution with the guillotine. And so he had seen revolution and had been impacted, affected by it. And to see America as a nation that was not devastated by revolution, was trying to reinvent the whole concept of governing and governance, but he saw, this is a big wound in America that these white people are making, and that at that time, those settlers. And he said, in the future, when these people get their freedom, they're going to have a wound that's so deep, and there will be set up such a history of dehumanization and brutality that it's going to be really hard to have these communities knit together into harmony. It was going to be very difficult, because a lot of healing needs to happen.
Well, I mean, to be real, what he said was that the Anglo-Americans cannot live with any other race on this continent, and there's only two options when you're dealing with them: slavery or extermination. And he said the Native Americans aren't going to submit to slavery, so he felt really sorry. He's like, they are doomed to extermination. And we have to address that reality, because as we mentioned, we reminded everybody in a conversation we had 2 weeks ago with Dred Scott, the artist in New York, is that slavery is still legal in the 13th Amendment. They just call it, oh, well, you're a prisoner now, we can make you a slave. But they don't say that, but it's the same thing. And then we get into incarceration rates and programs and all these wars on poverty and crime, that those are all feeding into slavery. And we have to be honest, if we want to address it, that it's still here. So now tell us about, because you have a really multicultural community. I'm going to throw a photo here of one of your,
and to see all these things that you've built, having to deal with all the hurdles and all the complications of this very racist system that we live in, and you're a woman on top of that, but icing on the cake. you know. So it's really like, you know, you're dancing, you're doing all the things that Fred Astaire is doing, backwards, upside down, in heels, you know, in space, you know.
Yeah.
So I hope we can uncover a little about what has enabled you to push through so many walls, make those walls dissolve.
Right. How did you first activate? Yes.
Like with the prophet.
Well, you know, it's the ancestors. And when you do good, you know, when you do good, you have, if you recognize that those ancestors, you know, because they're there, they're in the wind, they're in the rain, they're in the earth, you know, and staying close to the earth and being kind to the earth, you know. So I always feel that my ancestors are with me. Ancestor Garvey, Marcus Garvey, and you know, ancestor Malcolm X, ancestor Sojourner Truth, and you know, just all those great ancestors. I look up to them, and then when I'm down, I look at their resilience, and we're a people of resilience. And as you can see, my color, I have a lot of melanin. You don't see Black people this black like this anymore. So, but we call it, you know, melanin. So melanated people, you know, we're, you know, as Black people, especially in America, we are mixed with so many different things. You know, we're white sometimes, you know, and we're Native American. We're mixed with, so, but to have that resilience, and we're the strongest because we survived. We survived all that, coming over in crowded boats and, you know, captured. You know, we call ourselves, we don't call ourselves slaves anymore. We're captured people. We were captured. So, you know, going through that, you know, and of course I'm a meditator, and I met all the gurus, you know, Swami Satchidananda. I was co-trained, John Coltrane's wife, Triya Satchidananda. So all the gurus, Dalai Lama. So I practice my meditation and qigong, and so that'll set you. You can't do it when you're going through all this, you know, hatred, you know, because it will get to you. And then it got to me too, you know, but I was able to pull back and just go to SRF and meditate and come out. As an activist, you have to come out, you have to go in to come out again. You have to do that. And you have to believe in yourself and surround yourself with people that love you and believe in you. And you have to live up to that. You have to be honest. You have to be non-greedy, you know, and live very simple. So you can't, you know, I'm still driving my hippie Volvo station wagon.
Awesome.
And for those that are not familiar with SRF, that's a Self-Realization Fellowship that was started by Yogi Paramahansa Yogananda, I believe.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And they have a really great center in San Diego.
In Encinitas, and they have another one, I believe, near Hillcrest in downtown. And there's one up on Sunset. I believe we have one. I don't know if we have one in Orange County. We might not. But,
yeah.
But it's a wonderful philosophy that embraces all the world religions, any religious. It's really non-denominational, but it's about it is very meditative, you know, protocols, and it's about going within and really excavating what brings meaning and fulfillment to your life and self-realization.
Well, I study all of them. I study my African religion. I'm also, you know, my Orishas, you know, so I'm also with my, you know, when things get really bad, I mean, even my meditation don't work. I go to my African religion and I go to my Babalao, and went to Cuba, went to Puerto Rico, and went to Haiti, went to Brazil as Kunumble. It went, that religion, I'm so happy it went to these countries, because in Africa, it's since Islam and Christianity came in, they want to put the Babalaos and these seers in witch prisons, you know. So I'm so glad it came to the New World. There's a lot of good things that has brought us to the captured people brought to the New World. So again, my African religion is my Native American also, because they're all together, the Yebenya, Oshun, Obatala, Shango, God of fire, and all these things, So it's a religion of the earth, and we're all cool when we have that earth religion.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. In San Diego, I mean, if you've seen San Diego today, it's kind of the gas lampy, and I don't like it. But if you remember San Diego in 1971, it was nothing like that. It was like sailors, and it was pretty rough and tumble. And so tell us about when you started your restaurant, because you had some
in the 70s. Even more rough and tumble.
1971.
People getting lit on fire in El Cajon.
Yeah.
Crays
As Davis has told us.
Yeah.
But you had some influential clientele that came to you.
Yeah, George Harrison, Gloria Swanson, in that day, and I mean a lot of celebrities came. It wasn't easy putting that together either, because we had to send the blondest, because we were multicultural in that day, we were so proud of that. We were Mexican, Japanese, white, black. We're the first that I've seen in San Diego hanging out that tough. But we would send the blondest of blondes to get the permits. We really had fun with San Diego, because we were all people at that time, just like the WorldBeat Cultural Center right here.
And that's one of the strategies of Dreamocracy, because we're talking to people about what strategies they use, and often understanding the system that you're going with rather than fighting it, using it against itself, finding out what its weaknesses are. And I did an interview with a Native American filmmaker, Sandra Osawa, and she said the same thing, that she represented a collective of female filmmakers, Native filmmakers, and they were trying to get like a cultural series on network TV, and they kept being turned down. And then they got one of their male friends, it was an actor, and they said, you're going to go into the meetings, and he got the deal, and then went back to being an actor, and they went to do their job, but they knew.
But he went into the meeting with the hola, with the beats, and I'm going to give you what you want.
But mainly being a guy, they knew that it was so sexist that sending a man was going to do the job, that they said, well, that's a tactic we're going to use to get ahead. But
hired an actor.
They hired an actor, but they understood. They didn't sell out, or they didn't change themselves. They understood where the doors were and what people were threatened by,
and the vessel needed to convey the message so that it would be accepted.
Yeah. So what advice did George Harrison give you? That you could share with us.
George Harrison was mad at me. He was really pissed off.
What happened?
Well, we had the first non-smoking restaurant. We're the first of the kind, because it was meditative. There was no place to eat except Denny's, and I got tired of it. For meditators, that's how we met. I started out with transcendental meditation, so we all met as kids, young people, and then I decided to have a restaurant. But then it was non-smoking. Can you imagine? People smoked in restaurants in that day. So they said, Makeda, it's George Harrison and he wants to smoke. And I go, I don't care if it's George Harrison. He can't smoke in my restaurant. And I couldn't stand smoking anyway, because my parents smoked, all the time. And so we got this award from the Lung Association in there. And so they said, but it's George Harrison. I said, I don't care. You can't smoke. You can go outside. And so George Harrison gets up and he goes, you serve mushrooms, onions, potatoes, carrots. And I go, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with him? He says, you serve them and you won't let me smoke in here? And I was like, what is he? But I forgot he was a Hare Krishna. And they don't eat anything that grows below the ground. But he ate, and I know he's in Zion right now, and thanking me because he died of lung cancer.
Mm.
So he ate. So he was mad.
But you could have turned his life around right there. And he was married to a Chicana though, so we got to give him some props for that.
Yeah.
He's cool.
Chicana.
He's George Harrison. He's a cool guy.
And
another big luminary from the Prophet days is of course Bob Marley. So how did you intersect with Mr. Marley?
because you've been an ambassador of reggae culture, probably the ambassador of reggae culture since the late 70s, early 80s.
Mhm.
Yes, tell us about Bob Marley.
He was a really great person, and I'm just honored that I got to promote some of the greatest people in reggae music. Bob Marley, Peter Tosh. Peter was different. Peter was like, in fact, we're the last to have Peter in concert before his death. All three of them are different, you know, Bunny Wailer. But I was closer to Bob Marley and Peter. Peter was like the Malcolm X of reggae music. Bob Marley was like the Martin Luther King of reggae music. Bob was really a great guy, real short guy, real short. He seems so big, you know, when you see him on stage. And he, you know, being in the reggae scene at that time, which was so great, because it was music about revolution. There was revolution music and music about change. And I see this, and I said, wow, these people with this funny hair, and, you know, they're talking about peace and love and change. And I was in the All People Revolutionary Army with Kwame Ture, which is Stokely Carmichael. But then I started following this Rastafarian, and I started learning my culture again through reggae music. I followed Bob. I was they called and they said Bob had cancer. And they knew that Steve McQueen came to Mexico. So they wanted me to find the clinic that Steve McQueen went to in Mexico. So I found it, and I got some samples. I called Bob and I said, you know, they said you have to stop chemotherapy. And he goes, I don't want to do any more chemotherapy. I said, you know, he was in New York at that time. And so I said, I'm going to send you some things from the clinic that you have to do. So I called Bob back a little later, a couple of weeks later. I said, did you get the package that I sent you? And he said, no, because they just took the information. And next thing I know, Bob was in Germany. And then he died in Miami. So I wish he would have went to Mexico. You know?
Yeah, no, Tijuana and Mexico very forward in their medical treatments and holistic treatments. That's a shame. But the spark that connection lit. I mean, you had Reggae Makossa, a radio show for, what is it, like 25 years or how long?
Reggae Makossa was on 91X for 25 years. And I'm still on radio. I'm on Mexican radio, which is one of my best stations. I'm on tonight, 102.5 FM. And I have the protest on, and it's really good. I love this station. It's the best. It plays jazz. It plays bossa nova. It plays Fela. So it's one of the nicest stations. And I've been on about 10 years. 10 years. And I have
like that. Very multicultural. Very, you know, creative place.
Great.
What are the call letters of the station?
It's 102.5. And our own station, which I'm so happy. It took me 15 years to get our own FM station. And so you'll be having, if there's anything that the people, you know, it's the voice of the people.
And that's K-Vibe, right? K-V-I-B-E, K-Vibe.
Right. And
in San Diego.
101.1 FM. And it's also on the internet, 101.1. And that, you know, it's nice to have your own radio and television. So it was a struggle, but you know, unless you have suffering, you don't know compassion. So suffering is a part of life. You know, the Tibetans have suffered more than, I mean, they've been kicked out of it and you know, murdered and out of the country and everything. But they're you know, they are still balanced, and people wondered, you know, psychologists wondered why they were so balanced. But I mean, these cats are, man, they'll go to a graveyard and get into you know, dying and death, you know, so they master a lot of things. So if we master our minds, and that's what it is, you know, to, you know, master our minds and look deeply at suffering, and to, you know, and to know that our life is dedicated to relieve the suffering of others.
Mm. And your garden, to get back to that, is a really peaceful place. I mean, I know we've talked about, because you work with refugees, right? You're now working with veterans, that the act of gardening to kind of address trauma, to work through trauma, that cycle of life, the process is so healing. Tell us about your work with your garden, with different communities, with kids, you know, with women's shelters.
Well, the garden is really beautiful right now. We started with a little small part, and now we're almost down to President Way. But I'm gonna stop there, you know. I was say I'm gonna take it all the way to President Way. But yes. It's you know, we work with it with different youth. Our kids get to see vegetables grown, and they want to eat it. When they see it, they want to eat just greens that are growing. I go, wait a minute. If your mother put that on your table, you probably wouldn't eat it. But they have to see what they're growing. Some of the kids thought that their food was grown in a refrigerator. I said, you know, I got a garden. Where's it? What do you got in it? You always, you know, it's growing in my refrigerator. So, especially, you know, right now with African Americans in this food desert and the diet, it's good. The kids are growing up, you know, let them grow their own food and see how it is grown. And also, we got a grant from Cornell University. About 7 years I've been with Cornell. Lab of Ornithology and Urban Birding and STEM Science. And now I have a National Science Foundation grant. And then I was going, okay, Park, you think you cool? You know, now with the National Science Foundation. So then they start respecting, you know, for a while, you know, the park, you know, they start seeing us with that, you know, Cornell University, National Science. So now the garden is really, it's for birding. And like I said, it's Black Birding Week. And today is Black women in birding. You know, I send my thing out to Cornell, so we're on their website. But we do a lot of things in the garden. Now you got cherimoyas, you got mangoes that are growing, and the kids get to see mangoes growing. You know, raised bed. We got long life. We got fish mint that cures this antiviral, and then we cook with all these different things, and we keep the price down. Mm-hmm. You know, vegan food is expensive. You know, it shouldn't be that expensive. So we keep everything like nothing under $15, or you know, something like that.
And if you ever get to San Diego,
nothing over $15.
If you ever get to San Diego, you really need to check out the restaurant. It is so good. Tell us the name of the restaurant and give us a sample of some of the dishes you serve.
Man, that coconut curry is just to die for. And I have to say, you were talking about the garden. You know, if you want a child to eat their vegetables, they can grow their vegetables. Yeah. They will eat those vegetables. You won't have to coax them. It's magical. And it really is a whole relationship, a new relationship that most of us aren't used to having with the earth. You know, I thanks to you, we got our own garden, you know, going. You know, you gifted us some wonderful heirloom, Zapatista corn, heirloom seeds, and it's just, you know, I showed some to my cousins and my little, you know, the little ones in my family, and they were like, "Is this fake? Is this fake?" Like, we couldn't believe how huge a zucchini can get. So it really is a magical process, and especially now, when we are so food insecure and, you know, we're being faced with these threats of distribution and the supply chain breaking down. Well, if your supply chain is your backyard, you don't need to worry about that. So I think it's so beautiful how both your restaurants, the one, the cafe at El Tunel in Tijuana and the one at the WorldBeat, are both self-sustaining, and practically all the produce comes from the organic garden that is right next door to it.
Yeah, and you really inspired us to garden. Pocha has done a really amazing job. We now have the three sisters, a couple of rowdy tias, a drunk uncle in there. So, no, but yeah.
But yeah, tell us about your wonderful dishes and what inspired your cuisine. And also, what a great thing it is for a cultural center to have a cafe, you know, for a gallery or a cultural center. It's really wonderful to have that diversity of income.
Yes, it is. And you have to be diverse. That's the secret. I just want to say I work for Heirloom Seed Baker Creek, and I lecture there. And we do heirloom seeds. If you're going to do anything, go to Baker Creek or rareseeds.com, because heirloom seeds are the way to go. You just start seeing big water. I had big watermelons, incredible. You know, there's so many other different kind of cabbages, and they cut them off. You know, Monsanto, you know, they want to have hybrid seeds. And what we do, we have seed swaps. So it's almost illegal to share seeds in some countries. And go to Dr. Vandana Shiva. Dr. Shiva has done so many things, kicking Monsanto and Gates and all these people out of Africa and India. It's really a big story. And you could read a book called Soil, Soil, Not Oil. That's it. Dr. Vandana Shiva.
Is that a book, Soil, Not Oil?
Yeah, Soil, Not. She's deep. Dr. Shiva. She is fighting Monsanto. She's Monsanto's worst enemies. Of course, they changed their name and they all got together. And so
they took some hits. San Diego sued Monsanto for polluting the harbor and won.
Wow, that's great. Somebody, but they're with Bayer now. They're with Bayer Company. So they're big. They're all they're all in their same
racket
together. Yeah.
Es un complot.
So tell us about. So you got us on waiting with bated breath. What are some of the dishes people can expect at the restaurant? Because we've got a lot of people from San Diego in the audience, and Tish grew up in San Diego, but she's in Santa Ana right now. So probably has family down there. What can they expect at your restaurant?
Well, your food should be your medicine. That's so important. And so when I cook, it's cooking to heal you. You're not just going out and eating fat. We gotta be here a long time. We got to see the revolution. I'm glad I get to see this, man. But we got to be here a long time. And if we do it right, we don't have to wear, there's a lot of things that are going inside your body, your organs, and we don't feel it until something happens. But the organs are pretty silent until something really happens. So you got to eat to live. And my burgers are mushroom burgers with shiitake mushrooms on top of them. They're jerk burgers, real popular, So we want to get into like some good burgers. My curry is incredible. My coconut peanut curry is kind of African style-y. That's really popular. And I have a Jamaican curry, and I really like fresh spices. I even grow bay leaf. I got my lemon verbena, my lemongrass, and all these different things. Your curry is incredible, and I put turmeric in it. So fresh turmeric right inside my curry. So those dishes, gumbo. I have to have my black dish now. Collard greens.
Good. Yeah, your gumbo is great.
We grow our own collard greens out there, and so collard greens from the yard. Gumbo.
You also have those hand pies. What are those hand pies? You have like 3 kinds.
Oh, Jamaican patties. Jamaican patties. That's when you're on the go. When you're in Jamaica, you get a patty. Yeah. So we got big salads, get out of the garden. Got nice cheese. Just, a lot of good things. And
what's that fermented drink you have on tap? You also have it in a bottle of honey kombucha. Oh my goodness. You have the hibiscus kombucha and the ginger kombucha. So it's really amazing that you have that wonderful revenue stream
On tap.
that helps to heal people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everything is, it's self-sufficiency is really important, and no disrespect from the beer, San Diego's a beer town, and I have to say I like beer, but all the hops and all the things that go into alcohol, and we don't control it. We don't even control the dispensaries. In fact, we're still in jail. People of color are still in jail for marijuana or a joint, and then here comes the dispensaries, and boom, they could control them, and also the breweries. So I just think that I'm really happy for this time to stop. And we stopped a little bit, and I really don't trust going back out there like that. So I'm really slowing, I'm opening, but it's gonna be slow. And we really gotta know things. We gotta really keep our vitamin C, our D. There's things that we, hydrate, black seed, oregano oil, ginger, garlic. We really just keep, working on this and working on our bodies, So, a lot of things we have in our yard that, moringa. We have moringa trees. How could I forget that? Those trees, we have moringa, and we just make moringa green smoothies. It's so important, green. And chlorella. We're doing chlorella. All your sea veggies are so good for you with this. Whatever your iron and all these things, and your mushrooms, turkey tail. Let me show you this. I know I'm gonna go let everybody else. I want to show you my reishi mushroom growing.
Okay.
Okay, we'd love that.
Your mushrooms are antiviral.
And then we also have a question from San Antonio.
Oh, wow.
My goodness, that is beautiful.
What kind are those?
Reishi.
Oh,
Those are beautiful.
wow.
So know your mushrooms. Your mushrooms are healers. Turkey tail, with cancer. Cordyceps, you need energy. So, all the mushrooms that are, and you get them in powder. We do them with smoothies. One of the secrets, and I'm telling you, is mushrooms and all your sea vegetables, spirulina and chlorella, because the COVID virus, it attacks the cells. Chlorella builds your cell. Chlorella.
Thank you for that tip.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no.
It protects.
Sometimes the solutions are there, but we live in a culture that's so toxic at every level. And you're right. Now that we've had a few months to slow everything down. I mean, I remember after the first month of quarantine, the skies cleared up. The pollution was down, and we're learning that. But so this I agree with you. This move to reopen is really dangerous. So just you got to center yourself. So we have a few questions. One, Holly T says Jamaican coconut curry, greens, chili, and cabbage soup are the best. Does she have a fan there? And have another question?
Oh, from San Antonio, Texas, from La Vicky. La Vicky, you want to know, what is your cheese made out of, Makeda?
We're plant cheese.
What kind of cheese? Do you have cheese?
Oh,
Do you have
yeah.
cheese? What's it made of?
We have everything. Vegans are so sophisticated right now. We have everything. We have vegan cheese. We have mozzarella. We have a yogurt that's not even, it's so sophisticated.
What do you make it out of?
Well, there's companies that we get blocks of cheese, and you could make it out of cashew. You could make cheese out of cashew. You could make, nutritional yeast and cashews. But I get these big blocks of cheese, and then drying your food. You got to eat you got to know your weeds too. That's another thing. Your dandelions, your amaranth. Once you plant amaranth, it's all over the place. I know the park in. When I'm going for a walk, I go, that's my plant. That's my amaranth. So, but they, that's what the amaranth is, what they took away from the native people in Mexico. They took the amaranth because it gave them strength. And
Right.
they're just doing amaranth again. And so the bottom in Jamaica, the bottom, that's what we call kalaloo. But they in the Mayans, they eat the whole plant. That was so funny because the Jamaican, I introduced them at the heirloom, the Jamaican and the Mayan, and the Jamaican goes, "No, man, we don't eat no seeds. We eat we just eat the plant. The green on the plant." And the Mayan said, "We eat the whole plant." So funny. But yeah, so the weeds are good. Get to know your nettle. Get to know your stinging nettle and how to do it. So your weeds, make your weeds so important, because when your weeds are coming up, you don't have to do anything. It comes up. It could come up through cement. Your weeds are so important. Get to know them. Malva, filigree, and even purslane. It's incredible. And don't forget the nopales, their cactus.
Oh yeah.
Yes, nopaleras all the way.
Yeah, we got that on
Yes.
Hey, Tish wants to know the profit when it opened, and it's not open anymore, right? Because your restaurant is in the WorldBeat Center, right there in Balboa Park.
Yeah, one
But
day.
it's called the Prophet, isn't it?
One day, I have my sign up here, but it's called the One World Cafe, and it's really good. It's the last thing that I put in the WorldBeat. I didn't want a cafe. I said, man, I'm not doing that. I'm too old. Those guys go, oh, please put a cafe. So I did it. It's a cafe. I'm trying to, keep it, because I'm so really incredible. I'm still the chef, and I'm just so funny about cooking, So I knew I was going to be the chef. That's another job for me. But yeah, it's in the WorldBeat Cultural Center.
And the WorldBeat, the WorldBeat and the location of the WorldBeat Cafe is right off of Park Boulevard, right in Balboa Park itself. It's right
Southern edge.
Southeast edge, right next to the Centro Cultural de la Raza. And what's the street at President's Drive? It's President's Drive and Park.
And there's a big free parking lot across the street. If you're tired of expensive parking downtown or wherever, free parking at Balboa Park. And
down close to the Veterans Center.
Holly says Inspiration Point is where it's by.
That's it.
There we go. And Star Shields also sends you lots of love and says, how about that bean pie?
Ooh, no bean pie. I'll have to bring that back, but we have some incredible brownies and other things that we have. Starship. Yeah. Hey, man, we got some people there.
So Star goes way back. He's one of the founders of the
Sawdust Festival in Makeda Beach in Orange County here.
With the magazine.
Oh, man.
Oh, and also a magazine, which is
It just slipped my mind. The Star, what was the magazine that you started called?
Visions?
No, it's not Visions. It's the
Man, that's Star.
That was
he'll
the
type
new
this
one.
in. Yeah.
The Oracle.
The Oracle.
Yeah.
Which is a 30-year kind of
Back in the like the first alternative.
Yeah, Laguna Beach.
New Age magazine. The Oracle was there at the beginning.
Yeah, bringing that Art Nouveau aesthetic into the 60s and 70s, psychedelic, wonderful, the master of airbrush and tie-dye there, Star Shields, Orange County.
Love animals, don't eat them.
Yes.
Yes.
And one thing I wanted to ask you, because it's come up in the conversation, but it's also very...
That's where we started on. We're kids, and we went back and forth, and our first reggae band that we got together was the Rebel Rockers.
No.
And that we sang out in Laguna Beach. That was our spot.
So you were in the band?
No, I've always been a promoter and a DJ.
Okay.
And
this was the first band you brought to San Diego.
First band was the Rebel Rockers from Laguna Beach and Earl Zero.
Back in the day.
Yeah. And there's a huge local reggae scene now. I mean, we're all familiar with Keno and Big Mountain, did some great stuff. But you go to Ocean Beach, Herb, if you're still there, OB, you're going to find so many reggae bands. playing no beats.
Well, the thing is, you know, we want reggae to. It's been infiltrated,
Yeah,
and we want the consciousness that are into reggae music, and that's been lost. And so we're praying because they've colonized reggae music. They've
that's
gotten
true.
they've gotten into the music, and it's owned by AG. You know, all these festivals, and we call them white supremacist festivals because the original reggae bands are like on a little stage, and it's all white boy reggae. No,
Yeah, and Ocean Beach, I should mention that when I'm talking about Ocean Beach reggae, it's mostly white guys.
and that we're, you know, it's not doing it. Reggae music right now should be on the forefront of this insurrection. You know, it should
Yeah.
be it should be on. It's not because it's been colonized.
Well,
you
this
know.
is a good time to talk about your programming because we were talking about revenue sources, and we were talking about the racism in San Diego. I remember back in the '90s, one of the things that they did in Balboa Park, because you're still fighting for your lease. Like everyone else, they get a 30-year lease, but the two, community of color,
Ethnic cultural centers.
yeah, they have to fight for like a 5-year lease. They put all these hoops. But one of the things that they made your lease dependent upon was your earned income. And the large museums that charged $10 admission and had huge bookstores and gift shops, they could easily demonstrate a lot of income. So it was really smart of you to start the restaurant, you know, so you don't have a huge just gift shop, but you also do concerts. So tell us about the kinds of concerts that people can see at the WorldBeat. So I remember you used to stream concerts online like 15 years ago. You had a 24-hour streaming channel. Here's Yellow Man at the WorldBeat Center. You know, he came there a lot, and then who that is.
You've had Les Nubians.
Yeah. So tell us about your programming.
Ziggy Marley.
Well, I really don't think that it's the reason is, you know, when the dominant culture, they'll continue to make things up because they wanted to put hotel rooms across the street and they wanted the property and we just shot them down. They want to put a parking lot. We got, you know, we won that one. And they want to privatize the park, put parking in, charge you for parking. So, you know, we've been fighting that. But so I feel that we've gotten through a lot of hoops, and the revenue from the concerts have been, and I think that really pisses them off because see, it did, and because when I was younger in my 20s, I was a business person, so I learned business. So on one end, we learned. I love marketing, and we had our own channel. I believe in self-sufficiency. I don't want to live off the government or on grants or anything like that. You know, I'm a Garveyite. Marcus Garvey said we have to, define for ourselves. And one of my favorite days of Kwanzaa is the second day of Kwanzaa is Kujichagulia, and that's self-determination. And so most nonprofits, especially grassroots nonprofits, should really learn how to stream another revenue, and there's so many different things. And right now, we didn't get any of the care money. Of course, the grass, San Diego, it depends on they give it to the state, and the state gives it to the city. Of course, this conservative cities is going to give it to their friends, and it went to, of course, the Y, Father Joe's, and all those different things. And the COVID money, which I applied to San Diego Foundation, and it went somewhere else. But I have a whole new saying: it takes the community to save the community. Do you know the youth start giving the WorldBeat? I didn't understand where this money was coming from. $2, $5 on Venmo, PayPal and within how long? About less than 2 days, they raised $6,000. I would have to write a grant, $6,000, $2, $5, $50 here, but most it was like $5, $10, and I couldn't see. I kept seeing all this money. Yeah, we were sad.
Wow, those are all the kids that were coming in to
That's
support
it.
you. Wow.
I was
So,
sad.
a big part of that is also just the way that you involve people, and the way that you can also, you've been such a visionary, we've had Dee Dee here talk about you've been an incredible communications visionary. So not only do you physically and verbally communicate your vision, but you've established these wonderful different outlets for broadcasting and for transmitting the art that happens at the center on radio and video.
And if I could just step in a second, I think we've lost your video feed, Makeda. Can you turn your camera off and on? You might need to reestablish video.
Hello, Makeda?
Yeah, I got you. This is
Okay, there's you turned it off.
all right.
There you are.
Hey, all right.
You've always been at the forefront of technology, and you had a live broadcasting, a station there basically for almost like I would say 20 years. You brought in a T1 line before it was readily available. You have a radio station. You just mentioned you have an FM license. Tell us about the programming that happens.
How did all that come together? What was the process? What made you say, "Hey, I need a T1 line," 15 years ago?
Well, I always wanted my own radio station, and always wanted when I was, I'm a Leo, so being ambitious. It was a Aquarius moon, which is your sun and moon in opposition. I think Star Shields is Aquarius, but I wanted to get out of the ghetto. I always wanted to do, I wanted to do things for myself and for my community. But I must say that I could not do this without the people around me. You're nothing. The young people, and both of you, everybody around that helped. So
You're a really great team.
I'm really nothing without the people, the youth, and everyone. So you're standing on the shoulders of giants. So, it's actually the people that believed in me, and so I can't take the credit,
Wow. Well, you guys have done an amazing job, and it's not easy there. Having grown up in San Diego myself, to remind everybody that for all the touristy, message they give, it can be pretty tough on minorities. You're 15 minutes from Mexico, and you get across the border past San Isidro, and back in the 80s and sure in the 70s, you couldn't find anyone that spoke Spanish. If you spoke Spanish and you're 15 minutes from the border, it would be weird. El Cajon, it was weird, but now there's more people. There's more, the demographics are changing. I think the city leadership is changing. The Arts Commission, I think, is hopefully changing, but it's still a struggle. And you need to get that 30-year lease. How can people help you in your effort to get the 30-year lease?
Well, we asked you to stand with Black people right now. And so when we call you, when we need you to write to real estate assets and to the park, and so we can get our lease. They must feel really stupid right now, what's going on. And they knew how they really harassed us, sending the police, the fire department, and sitting one of the police that they used to sit in, I got a letter from him. They used to send to us, and I got a letter from him. He turned out to be the mayor. So he continued to harass me. And he goes, WorldBeat Center Mayor Saunders will never be a cultural center in our park. So, but we're here. And I think because I look so grassroots, and I'm not a Black petty bourgeois, and it doesn't make any difference. I don't think they want Black people in the park. And you know how uncomfortable it was going to Balboa Park meetings, and sitting there, and people didn't speak to you, all the directors and everything. But later on, they left, and so there's they have younger, some younger people working with them, but that old guard is still in there. I guess they thought, I just outlived a lot of them. That's why you got to be. You got to outlive these unkind people. They don't know racism is power. And it's greed and yeah, it's all that. And we were captured to be here for economics. And you guys, I want you to you see what's going on, but these are some frustrated people. I was really I continue. I go, I'm going. I'm this age. 2 years.
You're still having to prove yourself to people. I mean, that's just insane. But besides the meditation, the good eating, the great community of people that you surround yourself with, how else, are there any other tips, or how else can you manage thriving in a hostile environment like that?
Love is so important. I've told you, I had been up to this point. It must be a collective consciousness, because I just had enough. Just recently, when it happened, I was just like, I can't take it. I'm just so tired. And then when it happened, it just like a wound. It was like, it just came out. I was just like, unhappy about what I've been going through. And I can understand, but it's like, you got to remember that we're one people. And that's what the goal of America is about. And my ancestors have blood on this soil, because I want to run to Africa. Everybody's leaving. The blacks said, we're getting out of here. Africa says, come on. We need the skills. Come on. Everybody's going to Ghana. They speak English. It's easier. And everybody said, Makeda, you better come, But I'm like, and then I start thinking, and I go, well, this is my country too. I deserve to be here, because I run to Mexico every chance I get, man. I'm a Blaxican. If it wasn't for Mexico and the Mexican people, I don't know. I probably wouldn't be living. That's why I'm down in Mexico so much.
And I got to say, because you had the Cultural Center in Ensenada, but the work you did with the Haitian refugees is so important.
It really is. And they were there when the first Haitians came to Mexico, and Africans, and we got some of them in the country. And that was incredible, and for them to see an African-American come down, they were so happy. They said, you're the first African-American that we've seen. And so we did a lot of stuff. They're in college right now. And Haitians are, it's just people adapt so fast. They speak in Spanish, they're working in the markets, they're in the lines. These are, resilient people. And that's what we have to do as a people. Everybody suffers. It ain't just African American. You could have sickness, you have cancer, you could have anything, So we have to overcome our suffering with love,
One love.
We have to, love is the highest. And that, how could I hate, there's some of my white brothers and sisters that are the reason why I'm here. They go, okay, Makeda, hey, what you need? Or come on, we're going to do this. So it is evolving. We're at the end of an age, and the reptilians are trying to hold on. And that's the way it's going to be. It's been predicted. So we're leaving the Piscean age, and we're entering the Aquarian age. I hope I, be around, because I thought I was going to see it one day. This is the days of Aquarian, but we're about 20 years, 2030 or more. We're
going to survive. We got to get there.
Now, I also want to say, Makeda, you're very modest with the impact you've made with the Haitian community out here in Southern California, because there's a lot of Haitians that came over through Tijuana, through Mexico, and very early on, Makeda was doing a lot of work to bring them over, to place them, to connect them with different resources and organizations to help that transition. And then it was just cut off. And, as y'all know, Trump has, asked or demanded that everyone stay in Mexico while they apply for, to emigrate here. So all those Haitians that stayed and remained south of the border, Makeda advocated, and put together a whole entire colony for them with housing, with a whole economy that they helped build, with a cultural programming, with education. And it was such an amazing community and Haitian colony that was established in Mexico now that, had a relationship with your two cultural centers there, but some of them don't even want to emigrate now.
No.
That is so beautiful.
Going good. And, there was a lot of people start working with it. And I started in the beginning, and there was Paulina. She had an organization there. She came into our center and did wonders with it. We opened it up for them. Casa del Tuno is my center in Tijuana. It's right on the wall. If you get to Mexico, please see it. We're doing a Sonoros music from Veracruz, African. So we're
Jarocho music right on the border. Casa del Tunel used to be a drug smuggling tunnel that was taken over and transitioned into a beautiful state-of-the-art cultural center.
That's what I tell Trump. I said, I tell Trump, I go, we don't build walls, we build tunnels.
That's funny, but now even his wall, people are taking it apart. They're climbing it. It's total fiasco. But hey, we want to get to some.
Yeah. So that's speaking of the vision.
Yeah, we want to get some questions. But one question that we ask all of our guests before we do the Q&A is, what does Dreamocracy look like to you? We're building a new Dreamocracy,
a new society.
Yeah.
What is the dream for Makeda for this Dreamocracy? The vision.
Well,
what would that look like?
To see all races together as one, and that we understood each other, and I feel that's coming real soon. And to see Americans, realize, we're a young country, to realize what, we built this country for, and to live up to the dream, the true dream of this country, built for a lot of people to live into it. That'll be my dream. And my dream is for people to be able to be on the land and be outside and to save the ocean, and get radar out of the ocean so the dolphins don't and the whales don't beach. And my dream is to take back the earth, so and look at climate change and stop cutting down the trees. So you're wondering what happened to the bees, but bees are not supposed to be out in the desert in boxes and fed sugar and, just to get back to our natural, balanced self in nature, and not be greedy, and to live simple. To me, to have your own land, to grow your own food, to love each other no matter what color you are, and just save the animals and turtles and the world. That's it. That's my dream. And feeding people, and not having to have money, to go back to bartering.
I love that. That's beautiful dream.
Very, very beautiful.
Yes. With all the different people that we have here on this planet, the animal kingdom, the mineral kingdom, the vegetable kingdom.
Let's do it.
Yes, we have here one of our little animal kingdom friends.
The dog
we have yes, Bucky Byron, Buckminster Byron, and you have Legend. Look at your cousin Legend.
Look at it, dreadlock Rasta.
He's a Rasta dog. He's very mellow.
Legend. He's a legend.
Yep, I do.
Oh. And no, you're doing some really great work. Thanks for talking to us today. The WorldBeatCenter.org is the website. We'll get to some questions here. So we're going to open it. So the way we're going to do it is we're going to go to gallery mode. And if you have a question, raise your hand and we'll unmute you for the question. So who's got a question? Dee Dee, do you have a question? Wait, let me unmute you. Dee.
I don't have a question. I just have a deep appreciation for all of the wonderful things that Makeda has done in this world. And I know that well, here's a question. I know she always ran a summer camp, and I wonder, are you going to try to do the summer camp with the virus?
Well, you know, they hijacked that too. They gave the Y all this money, to millions, to do the summer camps, you know. And they're going to make it pretty hard for us to do it. Maybe, you know, I can do it. I'm just looking around too. I'm just thinking about re-entering into the world because I don't trust it. And I do it, you know, I might do it virtual. I love it. I got my own TV station now. I got software, and you know, and I'm liking streaming. I don't, you know, I go to SRF online. I had Malcolm X's birthday. I had Earth Day. I had a virtual Earth Day. So you know, I'm loving this. But I want to teach some of the kids some things online, drumming and a lot of things. So I'm just going to open up very slowly. And if I do summer camp, it would be in August.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dee Dee. It's so good to see you.
I love you.
Well, it's so great to
New York.
see Makeda. I've always, when I hear somebody's going to San Diego, I said there's only one place you have to go when you're in San Diego, and that is the WorldBeat Center. And what made me pissed was that they don't even put it on the map of Balboa Park. It's like,
well, they're haters, but you know what? They are not. I'm seeing them. I don't know what to think about them. They're up there now. They're jumping on the road. Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, I had somebody next door for years, and I never mattered. And now we support the black. And I'm seeing every institution. And I want to say something. I want to get it. I go, no, I'm not going to say it. But
now's the time, because now you get the article where they said that, and you take it into a meeting and you say, thank you for supporting our community. This is what we need. This is what matters to us. But no, I'm sorry. Yeah, you fought the good fight. You're still there. You're surviving.
And without bitterness in your heart, which is really.
But your programming, it's like you go to the WorldBeat Center, you drive by there, and it's always full. There's always people. Such a it is the manifestation of that vision that you're wanting for Dreamocracy. You're doing it, and it's just so wonderful to see it in action. You do drumming, you do dance, you do kids classes, you work with children's therapy. So check out worldbeatcenter.org to see some of the program they're doing if you want to support them. And we're really honored to have Dee Dee on with us because she's a legend and
creator of Paper Tiger.
Yeah.
And a video innovator.
Yeah. So Google Dee Dee Halleck and connect with her on Facebook.
Google it.
But you know, we're fans of the digital arts, and Dee Dee was a revolutionary back when it was just starting. You know.
She was one of my instructors over at UC San Diego. I have a lot of love for you, Dee Dee, and I think I did my first legit video art piece in your class, and that got me so far, all the way around the world.
Yeah.
So thank you. It just takes a little kernel of inspiration and guidance. Sometimes that's all our youth need, you know, and we'll take it and run with it for a good 3 decades.
And access was always the big problem back then, up to the 90s, but now that we have this and we have the internet, not only will the revolution be televised, but the evolution will be televised too.
Yes.
True. That's true.
So any other questions out there? Victoria, did you have any other vegan secrets you would like?
Victoria's one of our vegan heroes.
She's our vegan goddesses in San Antonio, Texas, where you have to go because you will love that as much as you love Austin, even more.
San Antonio, huh?
San Antonio, Texas.
If you've never been to San Antonio, you've got to get out there.
I think Holly's in San Antonio. One of my kids.
I don't have any vegan secrets or anything. I have a big appreciation for all the work that you've done. And I wish that I would have been able to go see you when I was in San Diego years ago, but hopefully I'll be able to make it there soon because I really want to check out your space. That sounds absolutely like a dream. I mean, for me. Here in San Antonio, we have a lot of people working on the food desert problems. We have vegans that are working, doing their best to try to make things better here for everyone. Right now, we're, as is in other places in the country, we're in a major crisis. You know, the demonstrations have been going on for a week. Police brutality has been coming to the forefront, and here in San Antonio, it was never really in the limelight as it is now. So that's a good thing, because at least now there's a light shining on that. And we've been making demands on our mayor and our council people to make different policies, to put them in place to make sure that these things don't happen anymore. So it's a very stressful time. And it's also a very cathartic, and it is, you know, just all this.
And you're also having growing pains with your vegan community, right? Because a couple of restaurants with you know, labor rights and just you know.
I got into a conversation with Senor Veggie right before this because of his pendejadas, his idiocy things. So yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that's been coming. I've had some difficult, challenging conversations with good friends about their lack of concern for other people during COVID, like going out and not wearing masks and not doing the social distancing. So there's been a lot that's been coming up, of course, you know. So, but I mean, that's how we grow. That's how we evolve. It is a revolution, and it started with COVID, you know. And that's my little baby boy yelling right now.
Oh.
He's like, oh.
Let me say,
And meditation has been a big part of your coping.
It's not something that is comfortable. A revolution hurts. A revolution breaks things. But it's like in Buddhism, you know, the saying that a broken heart is an open heart. So when your heart breaks, it's not a bad thing because it opens up. I'm also Buddhist and Buddhist training.
Like they say, the wound, right? It says the wound is where the light shines in, right?
it was Prima
So thank
Chadron.
you for all your work.
Prima Chadron. It sounds like, you know, when things fall apart.
Yes, yeah, Pema. Yeah.
I saw
Pema's my girl.
She's my girl. That's my girl. Saved me many times.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I was with Shambhala for a long time until the Me Too caught up with our guru, and
Yes.
that was devastating. That was heartbreaking for me. That was devastating, and I'm still working through that. You know, so I would say in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of upheaval, a lot of things opening up, and it's just evolving.
Prima, she quit the movement because they reinstated him.
Yeah.
Lazy.
She was quiet for a while, and I was very concerned about that. But when she started to open up and talk about it and said, I'm out of here, then I'm like, yes, exactly.
And that's part of moving forward, and part of the dream is not being stuck to things that are damaging or toxic,
Right.
or grandfathered in, that you've got to be able to move to the better thing, to build the better thing and move to it, you know, and to spot the you know, the lie, the BS, or whatever.
We're not obligated to perpetuate any dysfunctional systems. We've done that enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, basta with that. But you're doing great work over there with the cultural community, Victoria, and we're always happy to see you in the conversations. But hopefully you're doing well over there. You've got some great community out there.
I'll be in San Antonio, and I'll visit you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You guys would love each other. And if you go, let us know. We'll connect you with people out there. It it might reframe your vision of Texas. So
I have a question.
All right, we have another question.
Yes, so Makeda is my inherited godmother from the universe. And so as a person who is half white, half Puerto Rican, and who lives in San Antonio, Texas, born and raised in California, but Makeda, my question to you right now is, for white people, both white people who are I don't know a better way to say it, but ignorant and racist. And for people maybe that are wishing to be white allies to Black people. I guess more so the second part. Those who are at the point where they want to be allies, but they might not know what to do. What is your message to them?
Well, they really have to still get to know us, because you get a vision, and I could see the kids that were marching, coming from the marching, and I was just hanging out in the park, with Legend and a few of my younger volunteers, and they walked by. We're sitting in the park, and they walked by, and they were afraid. They didn't even speak, and yet they had signs, Black Lives Matter. And I was going, we're here. So it's not a fad, you get, this is very deep. So for them they have to, be with us and sacrifice with us and work with us, you have to have that sacrifice. You have to be in that pain. You have to go into that ugly space within yourself, Tibetan Buddhists, they have a thing called Tonglen. It's taking and sending. And what you do, you take the ugliness, everything that you thought that was ugly and was horrible and dark, and you breathe it in. And then you breathe out light that'll heal the planet and everything. And then you breathe back in the dark. So you don't have time to stay on one of another, because I'm always like, trying to protect myself, ward off the, put all the light around, but it's taking and sending. And so they have to breathe in, they have to have feel that negative that comes inside, and then turn it around and make it love and light and everything. Because this is not, they have to live with us. They have to stand and still learn, why did we go through this oppression? They have to work with us. They have to come and clean up and volunteer. It's not just about, they've been in the house too long, actually. So this is a party. They get to go out. That's so testosterone and everything. They haven't seen their friends. They didn't get to graduate. They're pissed off. Everybody's graduated. They get to go to the prom. So this is the latest party, but it's, it's for, it's really a meaning. I mean, I'm glad that they have a meaning, and there's some sincere protesters out there, but I'm saying it is the latest thing to do. So they have to look deeply inside themselves and transform themselves, because, this is really a serious revolution. And revolution means change. That's what it means, change. And things cannot remain the same. And it's change. If they want to change, if they could just go talk to their grandmother, because the neighbor is going to go, why do they have to do that? They burn down their own. They have to learn. And another thing, dear white people, that's it. I'm looking at these dear white people. Learn our history. And don't tell me there's one that says, dear white people, don't tell me what Martin Luther King did and how peaceful he is, because you killed him too.
Right. That's a great meme. It's like, quit holding Martin Luther King up and saying peaceful protest is cool. White people shot him too. But if I could add something to that, because it's very fundamental to just any kind of equity and an understanding, is if you want to help somebody, the first thing you do is ask them what they need, what they want. Don't impose what you think they want. And that's a problem with with these protests. Is the Black community wants an end to police brutality. That's it. We want to address, acknowledge, make our statement, not get killed. But then these people come in and think that they want rioting because they saw a movie about 1992, and they think that they're helping, but they're really hurting. But if they just go into that situation going like, hey, this is your issue, we want to help, what do you need from us? And you see some really, like I said, really articulate people online that are saying, hey, get out of our way.
That's it.
Go loot your own community. Don't come into ours. Don't pretend you know what we need. Don't just impose your revolt into our situation.
You're making our already hard lives harder.
Yeah.
You've got the sister that I believe is on, I think there's a lot of footage of her, the only surrounded by white protesters and telling them, hey, I'm a veteran, I'm a Black woman, I live in this very disenfranchised neighborhood. There's no corporations here. There's no Starbucks. You want to tear things up where the corporations are. Don't tear apart our only, bus shelter that we need to get to work.
But the one thing white allies can do to help in this situation is talk to your messed up white brothers and sisters. The ones that are showing up with the AR-15s, the ones that are beating people up. White people talk to their cousins, their brothers, their sisters, their parents, their uncles, and say, you guys got to stop that shit because it's not helping anybody, And we've said this before.
And this is a very sacred, task for white people because, as we spoke before, our spirits are, gender, no gender, no race. Our spirits are eternal, and we all have this equity in the spirit world, but we incarnated into these vessels. Yeah. These vessels that have different shades, and for whatever reason, sometimes you need to send a certain vessel with a certain message for it to get through. Yeah. So our Anglo brothers and sisters, if you could help and be that vessel and communicate that message that needs to be communicated right now.
And learn your history, because it really saddens me that white supremacists think that the Confederacy and Hitler are the best that their culture has to offer. Like you can say what Elvis, Woody Guthrie, Hank Williams, there's so many good things that white people have contributed. Don't hang on to the things that are like the worst. Learn about your culture. A lot of allies over time.
A lot of indigenous white people too. You've got the Celts. You have a lot of the Finnish tribes. There's so many indigenous tribes still in all over Europe, all over the world. So indigenous people come in all colors.
I would say start with Elvis. Just weaning yourself up with Hitler. He was cool. He was in Acapulco. He had black hair.
Elvis is one of the people that Black people. I mean, he said he stole all that music for his Black writer, and he said the only thing a Black person can do for me is shine my shoes.
What? Elvis? Okay, forget Elvis.
Yeah. What are you doing with Elvis?
Screw you, Elvis. Screw you, Elvis. And the Colonel was no picnic either. No. So, but there's some good people out there. Okay, we'll go with Woody Guthrie. We'll start with that.
Yeah. But it's important, we each have access. That we each have. Everybody has a certain level of privilege and access that others may not. So know that you are an eternal spirit in a vessel for a reason. Maybe so that you can impact your specific community, and open it up, open up that heart.
And we had Elvis on a few weeks ago, so
the Mexican Elvis, Elvis, also from San Diego.
In with Elvis, Robert Lopez, in with Elvis. Okay, Star Shields, another legend that we have in the audience here. Do you have a question? Star Shields, founder of the Oracle and New Age movement, still up there in Orange County.
In Nixon country, yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Who helped jumpstart the Sawdust Festival in the 1970s with a homemade UFO psychedelic space vehicle.
Yes, and he does a lot of spray painting of clothes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Airbrushing
Bob
the new generation of garments.
Do you have a question,
Oh,
Star?
thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate the love and the kindness that you're putting out. And Makeda, it's so wonderful to see you on this show. I was just so amazed that Victor and Pocha even knew you. I didn't even know. It's like, wow, what a great connection. This is so perfect. And we want to come and see you soon. Absolutely.
Soon.
And you visited the original Prophet, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the best was I mean, I can still taste that salad dressing. And what was that called? With the Asian salad or the Chinese with the Asian salad? Remember that one?
Ooh, wait.
Oh, all that stuff.
Dressing.
And I mean, you taught me a lot about food in general. And I'm doing a lot of gardening. I'll bring you some seeds.
Got some heirloom for you.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, that's fantastic. So we will hope to see you soon. The Sawdust this summer is going to be a pop-up show on weekends only. So we have a lot of between days to come and visit other things. Yeah. Come on down.
Do you have a question?
I'm just so grateful for all of you. No questions. Just
Right on.
keep on the light, and I love you all.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We miss you, and
And you're another guy who had George Harrison as a client.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
That guy got around.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
that's wonderful.
All right. So any other questions?
I think we've got everybody.
I think we're good.
Yeah. So Makeda, back to you. So how can people help you and support you? You're probably closed right now as a cultural center. If they go on like I said, worldbeatcenter.org, or they look on YouTube, they can find a lot of videos.
But they're open for takeout right now,
Are you
correct? You've got certain hours.
And we'll be streaming our classes. We have somebody from Africa, a group from Africa, and we're going to be teaching their classes next week. And so you get to see a lot of things and some of our old concerts, and we're online. What you can do is definitely, number one, pray for us. Prayer is powerful. And then when we need you to write letters, change.org, or how we're going to do this, because it's actually a civil rights violation is what they've been doing. But I don't know if I'm going to hit them that hard, but they have to, come on now. This is stupid. It's stupid. So we want everyone to join us and really visit us. And when we need $2 or $5, just give us $2, $5, or $10, because we see that, man, that's going a long way. So we didn't get any of that COVID money, which is so unfair. But
what's your Venmo?
WorldBeat Center.
And then you can also add the WorldBeat Center on Facebook, on Instagram. Go to their website and stream their wonderful programming, their music shows. They have, like I said, everybody from Ziggy Marley to Pato Bantan, and Les Nubians. I mean, it's just amazing. All the ska groups you can imagine.
And the Earth Day Festival. We didn't talk about Earth Day, but you have
one of the biggest Earth Day festivals
in San Diego.
In California.
Well, Holly says that you could write letters to the city, and Holly grew up through here. I don't know if you probably remember Holly, Victor, I think. But she grew up at the WorldBeat Center, and she's now a principal in San Antonio.
Oh,
wow. Assistant principal. But Victoria, you and Holly, that would be great for you guys to meet. So, whoa.
I'll expose my face for 3 seconds so you can see me.
Okay, let me see.
I'm going away.
Oh, I want that cat.
Hey, Holly. Hey, it's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to look you up when we're
back in San Antonio. Yeah.
Remember, these guys are the ones.
They're the ones with the house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a Casa Colibri out there. A cultural.
I saw your house when I was first moving here because she sent it to me. It's really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll have to get together. But Victoria is an amazing resource and a connector. So you guys should definitely exchange. I saw that Victoria posted her Facebook in the messages. So if you see it, you guys can connect.
Can we go over to Victoria? Oh, La Vicky with her beautiful baby.
Oh, well, she got
What's your baby's name? Victoria, what's your baby's
Unmute Vicky.
Oh, well, you put the cat down.
Kiki down.
We've got to unmute you so we can hear you. We can't hear you. There you go.
what's your
Here
baby?
I am. Yeah. No, he's done. His name is Pono, which means basic goodness in Hawaiian.
Wow.
Aww.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to mention also that's really, really beautiful about the WorldBeat Center, and quite honestly, sorry, let me unmute myself. No, that's not. That's the other one.
something else.
Yeah. So one of the things that's really beautiful about the WorldBeat Center, and you really don't see this in other Balboa Park institutions, for what they're worth. I mean, there's a lot of great institutions there, a lot of racist, history there. But when you go to the WorldBeat Center, you see people from 1-year-old to 100-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an intergenerational experience, not just multicultural, not just first, second, third generation recent immigrant, but everybody is welcome there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most beautiful thing. It's on the east, like I said, southeast side of Balboa Park, right on a canyon, nice breezes. It's not, congested. You can go out there and play guitar and hang out. Beautiful eucalyptus trees.
Little bunny rabbits. It's just really like paradise. It's like you're stepping into Wakanda, man.
But once
It's like a paradise.
But once you go in and you see the programming, the
The
drumming,
vitality.
the dancing, the concerts, we didn't talk about your Museum of African American History.
Or the Afrofuturism, museum that you have. So many treasures and innovative wonders to experience down at San Diego's WorldBeat.
Yeah, definitely
Center.
an innovator and a hero. You're in the San Diego Museum, Women's Museum Hall of Fame. Yeah, so you're getting recognized.
You guys are pretty good.
We've known you a long time, and
Yeah.
we've loved you long time.
Now, you do so much wonderful work, and we want to celebrate that, but you have so much to contribute to the dialogue. We're about creating a new Dreamocracy. And as we said from the get-go, there are people already doing the work.
Yeah.
We just need to get that message
I
out.
want to just create those intersections so we can all cross-pollinate and inspire each other with the work that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Each of us, we can learn from each other and use our collective strength to get where we need to go.
Yeah. So we want to say thank you to having you be part of this important conversation. Say hi to your crew for us. I know they work hard, but you guys do such amazing work. And, you've survived 30 years there. They've thrown a lot of stuff at you guys, but you ain't going nowhere.
No, we're not. And the thing is, I really appreciate both of you too. And thank you for letting me be here and come on. But what I want to say is one thing I left out of the dream, and to be in a world without fear, because it's fear. That's the basics of everything. So that dream I would love to be in a world without fear. Just we don't need it anymore. We don't need to worry about, I don't want to worry about, a big dinosaur coming down, or I'm in the jungle and something, but I want to live in a world without fear. And that's what they're afraid. Mm-hmm. And they're afraid that there's going to be these other races that are going to take over. And, they're in their country, which is not, because the Native American Indian was here long ago, and they should really see that. They're not nice little pilgrims. So they need to rewrite their story. In other words, history is now his story.
Yeah, we're going to make it our story.
Yes.
Our story.
Our story. Yeah.
Well, you're doing an amazing job there. Again, you've impressed us, and we really love the work that you do, and the number of people you serve, and the change that you make. People who feel so welcome there that they wouldn't other parts of Balboa Park or San Diego. It's changing. The demographics are changing. So you're leading the path, and people have a lot to learn from what you do. And WorldBeatCenter.org. Reggae music. Gardening. We didn't mention the butterflies. You're in the butterfly flyway. But you're doing amazing work, and a lot of people will recognize you.
Connecting people back to the land and back to each other. I think that's that's really the beauty and the miracle of WorldBeat. One beat, right? One beat.
One
WorldBeat.
beat, one heart.
Yes. Is it unity in diversity?
That's it.
Right above the door. So with that, it was a beautiful dream to share with you. So thank you, Mama Dread. Thank you, Makeda.
Thank you all for participating. We will see you next week.
Next week.
Thank you, Makeda.
Thank you. And Victoria, get in touch with me. I love you. Om Tara Tu Tara Ture Soha.